So after the results of the lottery, the Sacramento Kings have wound up with 2 top 10 picks with number 10 and number 5. And I think they have a real opportunity to draft some serious talent and begin a youth rebuild. In this video, I'll be discussing which players I'd like to see Sacramento acquire and how I think they would fit in with their current roster. So to start off with, I'm just going to look at Sacramento's roster and decide which players they would need to be drafting in terms of like position, heights, and all that sort of stuff. So currently on their roster, there are 3 players that I think have real potential in the NBA, and that's Buddy Hield, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Skal Labissiere. Hield as a guard has shown potential to be a deadly perimeter shooter and is also pretty decent at cutting to the basket and playing without the ball in his hands. While Willie Cauley-Stein has been a very respectable defender at the rim, he's an incredible athlete and has steadily improved his offensive game throughout his short career. Skal Labissiere has proven to be a crafty inside player with an excellent mid-range jump shot and has even shown signs of stretching that out to the 3-point line. So in my opinion, these 3 guys should be starting next year. They're going to be great players. But we have some problems, right? So Tyreke Evans is on their roster currently. He has an expiring contract, so he most likely won't be returning next year. The only reason he's on the roster is because during the DeMarcus Cousins trade, I'm guessing Sacramento just wanted to acquire an expiring contract and get him off the book straight away, just to make the trade work. And yeah, I honestly don't expect him to be re-signed next year, and I wouldn't want him to. The only other players on the Kings roster that could really play the small forward role well are Aaron Aflalo and Anthony Tolliver. But in my opinion, they shouldn't really be starting this year for the Kings, and I think they'll be used more as role players off the bench, just to provide that extra shooting and veteran presence in the locker room. Hield can play the small forward spot, but I like him better as a shooting guard, and I think most would agree. His play style and his quickness just sort of supports that. So, with this in mind, I think Sacramento's 5th pick in the draft should be used on a small forward option, or even potentially a small forward power forward combo. And this would be Josh Jackson, Jason Tatum, or Jonathan Isaac. I think they're the main 3 options this year, and they're all very good players, so they should be happy with either of those. I would say that Josh Jackson out of the 3 is the most talented and NBA ready, but he will most likely be picked up with the 3rd or 4th pick, because I can't see both of Philly and the Suns both missing out on him. It just wouldn't make sense. They both need a player of his capabilities, and yeah, so by some small miracle, if he slips to 5th, Sacramento should straight up just draft him. He is extremely tall for a small forward / shooting guard, and he does have a huge wingspan. The only downside is his jump shot is pretty shaky, and his 3-point and free throw percentages leave a lot to be desired, but in an NBA system with the right coaching, he could definitely improve his outside shooting, and the free throws will come along with that, I'm guessing. But despite this, he still shot over 50% from the field in college, and that's due to his athleticism around the ring and being able to finish well through contact and all that sort of good stuff. So yeah, I think he'd be definitely their first choice, but it's unlikely at this stage that the Kings would be able to get him. Next up is Jason Tatum, who is a very similar player to Jackson in most regards. He also tends to play well on both sides of the floor, although he is more of an offensive-minded player. He's not quite as athletic, and he's nowhere near as strong as Josh Jackson, but his jump shot is admittedly a little better, and within a few seasons he could easily put on the extra weight and fill out. He has the potential to be a huge scorer in the league, and because of this I feel like Tatum is the safe pick to go with if Jackson isn't on the board. But then again, he could also get snatched up at 3rd or 4th, you just don't know. So next up is Jonathan Isaac. He is the best pure shooter of the 3 players, and he's also got some very good height and length on him. And he was able to score really well inside and outside in college this past year, but I think that his lack of overall strength, it could cause him some problems when he comes up against NBA bodies. He could also put on some muscle and get his body ready, but he probably wouldn't be ready now. He'd be a good pick, I think. And this is honestly the worst Sacramento could do, which is pretty good considering that Isaac is a very talented player and would immediately add a lot of offensive options for Sacramento. But I think that yeah, he'll need a few years to develop, but he'll be good. So if we look at the point guard spot this year, Darren Collison, he comes off the books, and he will most likely be expecting a pretty expensive contract. Meaning that the Kings are either going to have to pay up or watch him leave. Collison is a very good point guard, don't get me wrong. He has career averages of 13 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds, and he's very efficient from the field. and everywhere, really. Free throw shooting, 3-point line, field goal percentage is all great. He's currently 29 years old, and I don't think he could take his game to new heights. He'll be looking to sign with a contending team, I would think. And he'd be after a decent contract if he was going to go to a lesser team. And the Kings might just have to let him walk. Because of this, I feel that the Kings should definitely be looking for a point guard with their 10th pick, and the obvious choice there would be Frank Ntilikina. With the 10th pick, Sacramento are projected by a lot of people to pick him, and I think that this will be a very good choice. Ntilikina is a very tall point guard. He's 6'5", and he has a huge 7-foot wingspan, meaning that his defensive potential is crazy. His playmaking and ball handling is very solid, but his 3-point percentages are not very good, but he can obviously improve that in time. He's very good from mid-range, and he can manipulate the pick and roll to create opportunities and also score in the half court, which is very handy in today's NBA. He seems like the perfect choice with the 10th pick, but the reality is that he might get snatched up before 10th. Unfortunately, beyond Ntilikina, there aren't very many standout point guards in this year's draft, and it would probably leave Sacramento with no choice but to draft a player at a different position. If this were the case, the Kings would probably need to do their best to re-sign Collison, even if it is for an over-expensive contract, or pick up another starting point guard in free agency, but I don't think they're going to be able to land a star. So Collison might be the best option there. But yeah, the Kings should definitely be looking to pick up Ntilikina if he is available, and I wouldn't be looking anywhere else. So in my opinion, that's what the Kings should be doing this year in the draft, but the draft can go so many different ways, and there are surprise picks every year, there's last minute trades, things can change very quickly, and I understand that, but regardless, the Kings have a great chance to add some talent, and I think they're going to be great. I think this post-DeMarcus Cousins era could be very good. I think the trade was a very good idea. They got Buddy Hield, Skal Labissiere is looking very good, Willie Cauley-Stein is starting to develop like everyone thought he would. And if the Kings can land a couple of really good players this year, 3, 4, 5 years down the track, they're going to be a playoff team, hopefully. But, I mean, this is the Sacramento Kings we're talking about, so you never know what's going to happen. So guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video. Leave a comment, give me some feedback or whatever. I will be trying to post more of these videos, in the coming days. I'm going to try and get through every team in the top 10 of this year's draft. And talk about where they should pick, what they should do, and how they're going to look next year. So thanks for watching again. I'll see you guys later.